Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Abington Heights School Board meeting for Wednesday, June 4th. Would everyone please rise and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're gonna have roll call, and I believe Mr. Moran is he online?
Yes, he is. Right there.
Oh, there he is, perfect. Okay.
Greg, can you hear us okay?
Craig?
Can you hear us okay, Greg?
Now I can, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, great.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Here.
Mr. Azar? Mrs. Henderson? Mrs. Hillebrand?
Here.
Mrs. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Moran?
Here.
Mr. Robeson?
Here.
Mrs. Tierney?
Here.
Mr. Acker?
Here. Thank you very much. May I have a
7 people
motion
are
to
here.
approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
On the motion, any changes? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran? Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes,
7-0.
thank you. I think what we're going to do is have public comment now. So when I call your name, please come up. Please keep your comments to more or less 3 minutes, and identify who you are and where you live. So first would be Aliyah Holgate.
Hey everyone, my name is Ayla Holgate. I've been in band since middle school, and I'll be graduating next Tuesday. I'm the current band president, have served as drum major for the past 2 years, and I've been active in jazz and marching band. With me today are the members and officers of the Abington Heights Concert, Marching, and Jazz Band. We are aware of the open position for a music teacher in the middle school and urge you to choose someone who will be adequate at teaching band as well as general music. Currently, there are only 3 periods a day where band is offered in the high school, and one of them is supposed to be a study hall. This means that students who can't fit it into their schedule in the afternoon do not get the opportunity to take band. It also means that more students are crammed into 3 periods, one of which has 40 students. The large class size means that no matter who is teaching, students cannot get the personal attention that they need for their individual instruments. But it isn't just anyone teaching band. It's Mr. Lesneski, who has been our program director for the past 4 years, and he's made it a wonderful experience, in spite of all the challenges that he's had to face. During the past 4 years, he's taught 6th grade, 7th grade, 7th grade advanced, 8th grade band, 8th grade advanced, 9th grade, 12th grade, 9th through 12th grade, and concert band, marching band, and jazz band. In case you weren't keeping track, that's 8 ensembles. And not only has he managed these ensembles, but he's grown our band program, especially our marching band, which has gone from 36 members in its first year to 120 members and counting for this upcoming season, with more students signing up every day. These increased numbers are amazing for our program, but they unfortunately make it harder to run. It's undeniable that Mr. Lesneski has made great contributions to our band program, but it's also undeniable that all of this is too much for one teacher, and it's unfair to the students. In my role as drum major, I've gotten to see a lot of the behind-the-scenes work that happens in our music department. And Mr. Lesneski is doing a great job. And of course he's doing a great job, but and the numbers reflect this as well. But I've also been able to see that there are many more opportunities for growth and excellence that he hasn't been able to take advantage of. It isn't because he doesn't want to or he isn't motivated. It's simply because he doesn't have the time or resources to devote to it. What he is managing is currently impressive, and even if you don't consider how many ensembles he has or how much he takes on, but I know that it could be even better than it is if we were able to invest all that we could into it. It's for the betterment of our program, students, and teachers that the teacher that is hired is willing and capable of teaching band classes in the middle school, as well as sharing Mr. Lesniewski's responsibilities. This would allow the program to grow more smoothly and allow Mr. Lesniewski to concentrate his efforts on certain areas because there would be another awesome teacher shouldering some of the responsibility. Don't just take my word for it, though, because our student body agrees. We've created a petition for more support for Mr. Lesniewski in the middle school, and have gotten over 200 signatures that include middle school, high school students, community members, music department officers, class officers, student council officers, and our senior student school board representative. We urge you to take this into consideration when hiring a new music teacher for our middle school. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
And I have this if you wanted to see it.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your comments and your passion.
And I can, I'll address it after we do all of our comments, okay?
Yes.
All right?
That means you have to stick around.
Yeah, but we won't make you stick around for all the other presentations unless you want to.
No, we'd love to hear it.
All right, it's great.
Okay, Mr. Stoller, the floor is yours.
Evening, folks. Thanks for the time. I'm here to ask if you would share your thoughts and your recommendations for the financing part of the middle school project. At last month's meeting, it was noted that we were going to use municipal bonds and district funds for the project. Is that collaboration, cooperation going to happen? I'll leave you to your comments.
Okay, no problem. Yep, so I'm gonna have Jim come up.
Sure.
Didn't, if you're,
So, good, how are you?
yeah,
So in all of our, or at least most of our finance committee meetings where we discuss the financing of this project, we had determined that it would take a combination of local funds, which are in reserve currently, and bond financing. So I think the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
That was almost always the plan, right? That's why we've built up a capital reserve fund, and that's why if you look at our budget, which we'll be presenting, it's actually on the website, you'll see that we have assigned and committed fund balance. $7.5 million of that fund balance in the general fund is committed for capital projects. So there's evidence that we've been planning.
This project?
Yes, so we have it allocated from that space, and we also have the capital reserve fund.
Okay.
Now, the exact number will be determined after, all of the different pieces come into place and the project progresses on. But that was certainly our
Would that be
discussion.
part of the budget that you're going to pass?
no, that wouldn't include that right now because we'd have to determine what that would be and when that would be.
So I guess in short, the project financing is happening in phases. First phase would be a bond borrowing to get started.
Okay.
Second phase, to be determined, will be a combination of use of our funds in reserve and potential additional borrowing as the project goes on. But certainly, I don't believe there was ever any intent to not share, as you say, share in the cost. That's been the plan
No,
throughout.
we heard that last month.
Yep, yep.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, that's, I know Mrs. Karam keeps
Yeah.
copious notes on those meetings, and, those are public meetings, the finance committee meetings, and long had open discussion about sharing in the costs, to use,
Okay.
term.
Yep.
We have gone through, Mrs. Karam,
Like
25 different scenarios,
Oh, way more than
Wait.
that.
30
40.
scenarios. We have scenarios you can dream about.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, we looked at it from the standpoint of, first of all, being able to finance the project, or obviously make sure we have a plan to do that. But secondly, protect the district from things like increased borrowing rates down the road. So that if we took several bonds, would we incur higher interest costs and so on? I believe that the most current version of what we're talking about is that we will be drawing down the funds from the school at the end of the cycle. But that will give us the most flexibility in terms of how we look at this.
Sounds good.
All right.
Look for the progress.
Yep, thanks.
Appreciate the time.
Yep. Did you say at the end of the cycle? So when would that be? What, approximately how many years?
So I have a committee report that I'll deliver shortly. And what you're looking for, we do have graphically organized, but not just yet. So we're waiting for PFM, PNC to give us our numbers, and then you'll be able to see 10-year projections for everything, the interest rate, the impact on the budget, and you'll have a clearer idea of when there's a coordination with the draw schedule for the construction, the financing, capitalized interest. So we are working to make sure that that data is all accurate out there, and you'll have a clearer picture, I think, once we get those projections of when the cap reserves are coming in. And we'll also want some flexibility, as Warren just said, on the back end to use the cap reserves and borrow in an interest rate environment that is conducive to the least burden on taxpayers. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Mrs. Tierney, you have another?
I will wait for Mr. Mirabelli to discuss the operational budget that we'll be approving next month, and I will ask about the capital reserve then.
Yep. Oh, great. All right, where are band students? Here in the back, so I can see you over that podium. It's hard to see you. All right. So a couple things, and I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. I hope it'll be informative. One is we do have a position that's vacant that will be filled tonight if the board so chooses, and that's for a general music class. So I imagine you all have gone through our middle school for the most part. All right. And so we do, I kind of liken it sometimes, these rotations with world language and STEM and general music is to like a general education program where you're getting a smattering of some different courses and content that would help you make some more informed choices as you get up into the high school, where you've got numerous courses that you can take. In the case of Mr. Lesnetsky, he does teach, I want to say it's 3 courses that you guys know. They do that a little differently at the middle school. At the high school, you're there pretty much, unless you're on a semester, but you're there every day taking those courses. And they would be doing it more on a cycle at the middle school. And right now, Mr. Lesnetsky has 3 courses for band at the high school, and that's what the schedule demands as far as the enrollment. Okay, and we still need the general music teacher at the middle school to do that, who this year had one of those band courses, and Ms. Tioni had a group of 20 teachers come together at the high school to take a look at the schedule and some improvements. And she made a presentation in April, which the board approved. And 2 people sitting on that committee made some recommendations for music. Both Mr. Lesnetsky and Ms. Koval were part of that. So what we've done, and this is kind of the behind-the-scenes baseball that the kids all know about, is if you were going to be taking senior privilege, that was just 9 mod, And you know that 9 mod is a little different than the other 1st through 8th period. So we've made those all equal. So students will now be able to, if they wish, to schedule 8 periods. Seniors will be given the choice, probably predicated on some of the schedule choices they make, to have senior privilege 1st period or 9th, not and, right? This allows us to have greater scheduling capabilities so that our students in the band and in our music department don't have to make tough choices between remaining in the program and, say, taking a world language. So both Ms. Tioni and the teachers in this committee feel like this is a really good first step in that. When we see enrollment in the band program specifically increase, then the board to take a look at those numbers and make those staffing allocations. While this isn't happening next year, I can tell you, and you can probably get the details from some of your teachers and Dr. Tioni, that for instance, we talked about an honors band program, and I believe that that will probably be on the docket for next year because we already have an honors choir and an honors chorus. And Mr. Lesneski, and I shouldn't even just say Mr. Lesneski, it's really that content area teacher that has the most input. They're the ones that Dr. Tioni will be speaking with. And I believe that they are poised for that next year. So you take a look at who you have in your classes and what works well. So I have every reason to believe that our band program, and I'm saying band because our band folks were here talking about that, and I would be saying the same thing with orchestra and choir if they were here. Will continue to grow, and we will see that, and we don't have any problem advocating for that when we see their numbers. So, for instance, I've noticed that our marching band numbers have increased, and that's a great thing. And we went back to the music department and said, hey, we know there may be some interest and need for new uniforms and things like that, and the board has said that they would be right there behind to support that and pay for that. In the same way as when we see these numbers, that we would augment our staff accordingly. So I hope that provides you with the answer you needed, or the information that you needed. And Dr. Costo, yeah, go right ahead.
I just also want to say, for the board's benefit and the students as well, Mr. Lesneski did actually sit with Mrs. Snyder and myself and really talk about what was needed in that 7th grade position, or that open middle school music position. And the person on the agenda tonight is a person who I think fills some of what was shared with us about what was needed for that position at the middle school. So
Which is a general music.
We were cognizant of that
Yep.
when we hired that person as well.
Okay,
All right.
superintendent's report.
I intend to yield my time tonight to Mr. Mirabelli, who he's going to give his third financial presentation ahead of the final adoption of the budget for FY26 at our next board meeting. Last time we spoke, we had said that oftentimes, the changes that we are really looking for don't come to us in the month of June, despite being mandated by the state to do that. They do a really good job at bringing in the budget after the deadline. But Jim's been working hard. We've been working hard to do some forecasting and let you know kind of where we sit.
All right, great. Thank you for the time. So I wanted to talk quickly about something that will drastically, we've made a lot of investments between the HR office, payroll, and the business office in order to improve and streamline and spend, quite frankly, less time on reconciling and doing manual calculations for the budget. So we collaborated with the HR office because our HR and accounting software talks to each other. And we said, let's leverage this. So our friends at HR and payroll made sure that they got all of our salaries and benefits up to date for next year. And that might sound like a simple thing, but we have salaries and benefits, which is 75 to 80% of your budget, calculated down to the penny for next year. Now, save for overtime and some things that you have to calculate. But everybody who's here today is calculated down to the penny and transferred directly into next year's budget. In the past, we would have these manual spreadsheets and we would have this reconciliation process probably 2 times a month. So this is much more streamlined, much more accurate, and much more reliable after going through this process. So when we talk about what's changed between the preliminary budget that we passed and talked about in January and the budget now, that is actually a major thing that's happened in this budget. So there were hundreds of, if not thousands of changes that were made. They don't necessarily materialize in the bottom line, but we do have a much more streamlined and efficient budgeting process. So for us, accounting nerds, we do like this efficiency and not having to hand reconcile everything as we go through the budget process. So I just want to make that note that what you see in front of you is built on a little bit different and streamlined system, although it may look the same with slightly different numbers on it. Couple highlights from the preliminary budget. We talked about the main item there, health insurance increase of approximately $1.45 million. We've been working on that, but that number has not changed in this budget, okay? So that remains a $1.45 million increase on the health insurance side, is probably the biggest budget driver we've seen since the pension spike was going on over the course of a decade. So that was a big one, and that one really tells the story. Without that increase, that mandatory increase, we would be looking at some probable surpluses at the end of the budget. But just wanted to point that one out. We had contractual salary increases of 3% on all of our contracts. Transportation increases, you'll see we put in 3%, but as we reconciled that with the transportation office, you'll see that there's a little bit more in transportation that we had to cover. And then we had a budgetary reserve of $200,000, and then inflationary increases across the budget. So since then, we had some staffing changes. We had a special ed teacher come on, and then we, through attrition, removed a high school position. We also had a curriculum director and HR secretary, so just some staffing that kind of moved around a little bit there. We had to increase the amount for charter schools to adjust to trend. We're seeing a spike there. I think I showed that last month that we're seeing those numbers creep up. I just mentioned transportation had to be moved upward. And then another benefit of budgeting in the software, so to speak, is I can really quickly look at variances 5-year history up to present. So using that data, we do this manually anyway, but using the data, it was very easy to determine that there were some areas where we were a little light on the revenue side, so I was able to boost up some of those revenues, such as earned income tax, look at the trend. Interest earnings we looked at. We saw that real estate transfer tax is performing well, so we revised that upward, as well as delinquent taxes. So just a few upward revisions. So we had a little upward pressure on the expense side, a little upward pressure on the revenue side. But overall, we had a $1.9 million deficit to begin in January, and right now we sit at a $1.48 million deficit. However, some notable things that are in that deficit. We have carved out $625,000 for additional debt service. Because of the timing of the borrowing, it is likely we will not be having to pay additional debt service in this upcoming fiscal year. just because of when the principal payment hits, okay? So that one is, that 625,000 is keep in the back of your mind. We have a $200,000 budgetary reserve. We call that out every year. That's not specifically budgeted for any one line item. And I think in my career here, we've had to use it once, and that was dealing with ratification of a contract and retroactive pay. So, unique circumstance there. We have not budgeted yet for any of the additional ready-to-learn block grant monies that the governor proposed. If that comes through, that would be $563,000 in additional revenue coming to us, okay? We are waiting to hear anything out of Harrisburg, and I haven't heard anything concrete. It's been very quiet. We also did not budget for any potential charter savings yet in coming out of the state. Now, there's some things talked about the $8,000 cap. That would help us out. Our internal calculations were somewhere around 200,000, maybe a little north, as far as savings that we would claw back from that reform. And also, we have some solutions on the table for health insurance, but we have not included any savings or clawing back of cost measures related to health insurance at this time. We're budgeting what our consultants are telling us we expect to spend next year in terms of health insurance. So as we try to sort of reconcile where we were in January, where we talked last month, and where we are now, those are kind of the main highlights. And I apologize for getting off on my software and accounting sort of efficiency, but that was an important development in our process here. With regard to taxes, we have in this budget the 4.7% increase, which equates to approximately $140 on the average property. We also did receive an increase of our gaming revenues. The state property tax reduction allocation will save about $32 additional dollars. So back that $32 off of the approximate $140 tax increase. So the state is, reducing taxes back a bit there. So those are highlights of what's in here. I can go through this particular budget. I think we're kind of familiar with the format, but I can go through it in detail, or if anyone has questions at this point, happy to take them. I know we've talked about budget several times through this process, and we started extra early, so happy to take any, and then we can kind of talk about that debt service a little bit if you like.
Any questions? Mr. Mirabelli, if I understand what you're saying, the bottom line is, at this point, we're showing a $1,480,000 deficit, which would be, if it existed at the end of the year, would be made up out of general funds, I assume. But you are suggesting that will probably be offset by $625,000 of debt service we won't incur, $200,000 budgetary reserve that hopefully we won't have to rely on, and then the possibility of the state coming through with block grants, which they would normally do. Is that correct?
I would think, I would expect, given the economic climate, we would see an increase in either basic ed subsidy or the Ready to Learn block grant. I would say it's more likely than not that occurs, but I would not budget that aggressively. We have a long history of not being aggressive with these numbers.
Shouldn't be. So I guess where I'm heading then is those three items, if I'm not mistaken, total $1,388,000. So basically bringing us in perhaps $100,000 deficit at that point, if that happens.
And my response to you would be, we absolutely have a path to a break-even year.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Great job.
I mentioned this at the last board meeting. I'll just reiterate. I've spent a lot of time this year working with our local, state, and federal legislators on kind of a myriad of topics. One is facility improvements, specifically reimbursements to the district through one form or another, and charter reform. And right now, under the governor's proposed budget, which includes charter reform for cyber charter, tuition for regular education students, and then a committee to establish a fee for cyber charter for special education students the following year. Again, that is just proposed. There is a think tank out of Philadelphia, this happens yearly, that would take that information on the proposed budget and run our current numbers to provide us with a subsidy number if the proposed budget goes through. And that number for Abington Heights is north of $900,000. Again, we wait. The state is supposed to pass their budget by the last day in June every year. And everybody sitting here knows that I can't recall when that has ever happened. So we budget conservatively, and every year that I sit up here at this time, seemingly we're always looking at a deficit of anywhere from 1.48 to 2.5, and our job is to manage that budget as tightly as we can. And as Jim mentioned, in one of the great challenges in education relative to budgeting is that 75% of our budget is our teachers. And again, I'm going to reiterate what I always say, and it should be. We're in the people business. We're in the teaching and learning business. Our investments should be in our students and our staff. They're the nucleus. They're right in front of our teachers. And that's why, almost 8 out of every $10 goes to just that. As a result, that can make balancing the budget very difficult, because now you're looking at those $2 out of every 10. How do you sharpen that? And we've been working on insurance over the last 6 months or so. Right now, we're looking at increases in our pharma, close to 25%. That is aligned to what other districts are seeing as well. So we'll continue to watch that, work through that, work with our union leadership, who's been very supportive and collaborative as we look to come up with some efficiencies so that we can claw back some of that $1.4 million increase. The transportation increases that Jim talked about align very closely with some of the increases that we have seen in special education. So from time to time throughout the year, the board has passed action items for new van routes. And when you see that, that has everything to do with some of the adjustments we're making with special education. So we'll continue to monitor that, do our very best to bring everything in. At the same time, we've had some very nice headwinds. Our earned income tax and transfer taxes have come in above budget. we've done very well investing our money and bringing back interest that is much higher than what we had anticipated. And much of that has to do with the current financial landscape that is changing. 2 years ago, I would have been talking to you about an inverse yield curve where we are able to invest in some short-term treasuries north of 5%. That's something that Jim hasn't seen in his career until this year. And quite frankly, I haven't seen in my 30 years. I maybe in the beginning when I was wet behind the ears and I didn't know much about that, and I was a school counselor, but you know, cash management wasn't something that we talked about because, you know, we could usually get was maybe 1%, 1.5% in a regional bank. So we've done a good job there. We've brought the budget in and we've prepared well for our facility projects, and this is not new territory, and this is something that the board deals with every year, and how we face some of these financial challenges. So I appreciate the work that Jim's done. The next time we come back and see each other, we'll be voting on the final budget, and I would hope that at some point before our students come back that we'll have a state budget in place, and we'll be able to provide you with an update. Certainly if the Ready to Learn block grant and charter reform come into place, then we're looking at a very significant chunk coming off that deficit. And I will continue to reiterate, like I've done with all of our local, state, and federal legislators, about my dismay with the current charter formula. As Jim mentioned, we've had to budget for increases, and you know, those increases are due to more students choosing it. However, those increases are due to the increases that we have to pay based on a formula. And believe it or not, the more money we get from the state, this is a very gross and general assertion. The more money we get from the state, the more money we put onto our own kids, the more money we then have to pay our cyber charters. So as a for instance, and this is an example that I give to local legislators because they're unaware of it, because this is just in the weeds and nobody wants to hear about it, but it makes a huge difference. So if you run into Representative Kozarowski, feel free to get in here about it. But Jim had mentioned the Ready to Learn block grant. This is something that probably a lot of board members never spoke about before. We got very few funds in the Ready to Learn block grant. And when Jim would do the calculation every year, there is an amount of money that we're able to write off. And that amount of money was probably close to 90% of the block grant. By writing it off, it meant that it didn't go into the calculation for charters. This write-off was established in the Corbett era. So it's been a long time. It's been close to 15 years. Last year, the state decided to provide us with more subsidy based on a court case that they lost. And they decided to provide us these funds through the Ready to Learn block grant. So we went from a very small amount to a very large amount. But yet, we could only write off that number established by the Corbett administration, which meant when Jim did his calculations, that money that we got out of adequacy and fairness and equity to invest in our kids gets turned into this formula, and more money goes out the door. And this is something that in many newspaper articles we've seen late, not us, but superintendents writing stories and opinions, op-eds, saying that they're having to spend all of their adequacy money into charters. So any moment, any time that I have to talk about this, I will, because in certain cases, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And then the other thing that I finally talk about is tort reform relative to special education settlements and things like that, that, you know, I believe, in my opinion, is out of control, and there's no regulatory body that's doing that, and it keeps on getting upheld in court. But that's for another day, but those are the two biggies. So Jim, thank you for your presentation today.
Mr. Mirabelli, thank you.
Mr. Acker, at this time, I'd ask the board consider a motion to approve the personnel report as follows.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hildebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran? Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
7-0.
I want to pause for a moment just to, I had the opportunity to speak with Dr. Prowl today, and she wanted me to relate a couple things to the board. So this is on behalf of Dr. Prowl, and she will be taking a new position as a director of professional learning in East Stroudsburg. And she has done a fantastic job here, and she wanted me to publicly thank the board for investing in her and trusting her. I know that she will do a fantastic job in her new role, that she is ready for this new role as a director of professional learning. It's something that she has aspired to for some time. So we wish her all the best. So I want to relate those thanks again on behalf of Dr. Prowl. Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board approve the MOU between the Abington Heights School District and the Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania for the early college program. These are articulation agreements that we see now frequently relative to dual enrollment.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hildebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran? Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
7-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask the board consider a motion to approve the agreement between the Abington Heights School District and Naviana Healthcare to provide nursing services to a student attending OLP.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hildebrand, sorry.
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran? Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
And Mr. Acker?
Yes.
7-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask the board consider a motion to approve the sale of repository property.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hildebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran? Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
7-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask the board consider a motion to approve the settlement agreement for student 21X.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hildebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran? Mr. Robeson?
No.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-1.
Mr. Acker asks the board consider a motion to approve the school board meeting dates for the 25-26 school year.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
7-0.
Mr. Acker asks the board consider a motion to approve the agreement between the Abington Heights School District and Interpretech for sign language interpreting.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? So, roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
7-0.
Mr. Acker asks the board consider a motion to appoint Scott Thorpe, Clark Summit, PA, as real estate tax collector for Glenburn Township, Ransom Township, North Abington Township, and Clark Summit Borough for the 2025 taxes.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
Just a question. Did we always have two tax collectors, or is this?
No.
No, we've had many more.
We've had way more. We are consolidating.
We're happy where we are.
Is Scott Thorpe also the South Ave collector?
No.
What? Who's the South Ave tax? Yeah, she's coming up next. Yeah, next.
Roll call?
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
7-0.
Mr. Acker asks the board consider a motion to appoint Kathy Platt, Clark Summit, PA, as real estate tax collector for Waverly Township, Newton Township, South Abington Township, and the Borough of Clark's Green for the 2025 taxes.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, the next item is informational use of facilities, which is in the attachment. I noticed that that goes on for something like 14 pages.
Yeah.
And that's just for a month. Is there any unfinished business? Is there any new business? I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all.
So that's my fault. I always forget.